Hey, Anthony Barton here to talk about school choice theories and practices, and just to reflect on my readings for this week. Um, not to start with a bias or uh, to put a slant on the research on the readings from this week, I am a public school advocate. I am a product of the public schools of Robinson County. I'm a product of the UNC system. With an undergraduate, graduate, now working on a doctorate degree. It was very important when looking for the right institution to further my education. I really wanted to stay within the UNC system because I believe in it so passionately. Not to be biased, but I am a supporter of public education. Not that changes aren't needed, and reform isn't welcome, but I am not a supporter of school choice. In the conversations of vouchers and charter schools. I want to talk a little bit first about the history of vouchers and the research on the achievement of schools that receive opportunity scholarships and have received vouchers in the past, whether or not it's having an effect um, on those particular students, the students that it's serving. And then I want to talk a little bit about the politics behind vouchers, um, and finally finish the conversation with accountability. Um, so, uh, didn't really hear much about vouchers until I went to college. Even though I was a high school student during the Bush era, obviously, I guess that's not something that I paid much attention to, but really started hearing the concept of vouchers and then even opportunity scholarships in the last few years here, specifically in North Carolina. In my reading, I found out that the idea behind vouchers. The idea came about in 1955 when there were parents of students that attended Catholic and faith based schools, that their complaint was, I pay property taxes and sales taxes, my income is taxed, but yet, the schools that my student attends or my child attends does not get any support from the government. In my rational mind, and as a parent who pays, I own more than one property, so who pays lots in property taxes and income taxes and every other kind of tax, I guess. I can get that. That makes sense to me. On why I still have to pay for public education just because or pay for my students' private education because I chose that when I pay just as much or more taxes than other folks. Um, but again, I'm a supporter of public schools. In the readings, it's obvious that it is until the 1990s that the public school voucher folks, or the folks that are most in support of vouchers, kind of brought the issue back to life. We see the introduction of vouchers in Milwaukee in 1995, and then we see it again occurring in Washington, D.C. in 2003. So, based on the readings, here are a couple of things that we know. We do know that the push for vouchers is a conservative thing, that time and time again that the public has voted this down in different parts of the country, but it's typically conservative legislatures that introduce vouchers. And we're not calling them vouchers in North Carolina right now, but these opportunity scholarships that right now seem to be valued at about $4,200. So to talk about the research, I guess folks, supporters of vouchers feel that parents should have the opportunity to send their student to the best schools possible, okay, so that they can get a great education and then, become successful in life. I thought it was very interesting that the former NBA player, the Carolina graduate, that did the little minute video talked about, how his education prepared him for his athletic career and that he was in support of opportunity scholarships. Well, I get that. I do absolutely. I want my child to go to the absolute best school. Right now, we actually just bought a house about 6 months ago. So we moved outside outside not the school district, but the district of the school that she was attending, and we decided to keep her there because it is a school that typically does well, but it's also a community school and it's a K-8 school, and so she's been there. Um, she'd already been there for 5 years. But as a parent, if we weren't able to do that, then I would have to be okay with the school that my child had to go to because I made the choice to buy my house here. Just like most parents have the opportunity, and if you watch or if you talk to folks that are sometimes looking for homes to buy, a lot of times the school district does weigh into their decision on where to buy a home. But as I made the choice as a parent to buy my home here, then I need to be able to support the school in our district. And I think that public school voucher supporters sometimes forget about the role that parents play in a child's education and at home, as far as helping with homework, ensuring things are getting done, reading with their children, or helping with homework. But also sometimes they forget that their parental involvement in schools, in any school, can have a positive effect on their child's education. Um, and going back to the conversation about Milwaukee, so the research says that some of the schools there, when this voucher program started, millions of dollars were poured in to these vouchers. So I think the number ranged from $40 to $50 million, and the facts was that not only was there not a significant increase in achievement, we did not see the schools that benefited the most from vouchers. We did not see that they outperformed public schools that did not receive any voucher money or were not a school of choice. Um, and then, the concept behind, I know in North Carolina that the legislature pushed was that they wanted students of limited means or of a background of being economically disadvantaged would get the choice to pick the best schools. Those students aren't the ones that are getting served. I think that sometimes our students that are more economically disadvantaged have more of a cultural connection to the schools that they're already at. And it's a little harder for those parents to pull them away. So if we're going to pour millions into a program like this, then we should definitely be seeing a much greater increase in achievement than is actually being showed here. I thought it was interesting in some of the readings, and was that you know you can find research to support anything you want to support. So even though and I think it talks specifically in the conversations about Milwaukee that although they didn't find any significant increase in achievement or that the voucher program was working, supporters of the voucher program, discredited the research that the folks that said the voucher program didn't cause any significant achievement growth found issue with that. Opportunity scholarships is the term that is being used here in North Carolina, and I think right now these opportunity scholarships are valued at about $4,200. This wasn't a topic that came up for a vote. It wasn't something that we saw on a ballot or where I feel like there was much input from the general public. It was something that our legislatures used to pull dollars away from public schools in a budget bill. So at the end of the day, it is obvious based on the readings from this week that most Americans seem to support keeping public education public. And just to mention charter schools before I get into the politics behind vouchers, I believe I believe in accountability, but I also believe in playing fair. So I do think as a parent, sometimes you have to make tough decisions about where you want your child to go to school, whether that's buying in a certain district or, like we are in my situation, transporting a child to a different school outside of maybe the area that you live. Um, and so sometimes you have to make different decisions based on the needs of your child. But I do find issue when we have schools that are, charter schools And I have personal experience with this because there is a charter school in the town that my school serves. It's very small. They only have maybe 125 students. They don't have a cafeteria. They use a lottery. Um, they do offer transportation, which is not something a lot of charter schools do. But they can accept or deny whomever they want to. So if there is a student there with, that may have a certain learning disability, or they can deny that child. Obviously, I know it's discriminatory to say, well, we don't serve students with disabilities, but if they don't come up in the lottery, then they don't have to serve that child. If a child moves into the school district or around that school, they just can't come to the school like they come to mine. There's another charter school in the district that does not offer transportation. They don't have a cafeteria, so students have to bring their lunch every day. And I think there's 1 or 2 days a week or every other week where they cater meals in that students can buy. So I just find it so the parents that can't afford school lunch, that knocks them out, obviously, and then the parents that can't make the drive to take their kids. So I just don't think it's fair to compare what that school can do, compared to my school where we're inclusive to everyone. And I just think if charter schools and public schools had the same accountability measures, and they accepted children just as we do in the public schools, then I would be I guess I'd be more willing to talk about some support there. In one of the articles, I found it alarming about some of the politics behind vouchers and how some of the companies, especially in Florida, were funneling money into the PACs here, or to some of the legislatures here, and making campaign donations as these opportunity scholarships were being passed. And so it just makes me wonder: are we leveraging the funds that taxpayers are paying in North Carolina, just so you can get some money on the back end? And as a result, this isn't just, pushing some taxpayer money around, but you're also pulling resources away from public schools. And it's just very scary. And then, like I just mentioned just a few minutes ago, just the accountability piece behind school vouchers. How can we assess this and make sure it works? And if it's not working, if we don't see a significant increase in achievement, or students with that come from an economically disadvantaged background, if they are not getting the opportunity to choose that school, or they're not taking the opportunity, whichever, are we going to continue to keep pouring money into that? So interesting readings this week. I think school vouchers. I think charter schools, privatization, school choice are going to be some topics that are going to be around for a long time. Um, and I do think it's something that is interesting and worth continuing to talk about. Again, a huge champion and supporter of public education. It is the man I am today. I am the man I am today because of that. And I got so many opportunities as a public school student. But I want that to continue. But I just think we have to be careful, even though reform is needed. When we start taking monies and funds and resources away from our public schools. Thank you.